Hello, welcome back to the top four of the grand finals of this here tournament. We got a best of three between Maximillionaire and Michu, and indeed they are still grinding on the vampire counts. They will not be able to switch factions, and Michu's going to be countering with Norsca this game. So what do we got? Game number one, standard Manfred double White King combo. They're all on their little horses, and they're going to be rushing into battle to try and take down this gigantic mammoth. He's already power stoned. He's got final transmutation. Great, actually, for dealing with that hero squad. And a very thick line of infantry. So we got Marauder champions, we got berserkers. All very, very strong at clearing out the tides of undead who would otherwise be able to hunker down on the points and simply not die until they win on tickets. They only need 1,500, and each point gives 1 ticket per second. So Michu, going for the early game plays, capturing all the points. They're going to be trying to get an early advantage so that the vampire counts have to actually split up. The more they split up, the better. As many of you know from campaign, we do have corpse carts, the healing variants. They're very good at blobbing. Now, Norsca's pretty good too. Great shaman sorcerer. He does have a vigor regeneration effect along with physical resist. He has fight or die, but all that pales in comparison to the simple corpse card. Vampire counts with the corpse card can get a lot done. This thing has healing, it has leadership, and +5/+5 stats on top of a vigor regenerating effect. It is insanely strong for blobbing, and quite cheap too. You don't have to put your whole lord on a giant mammoth to make use of it. There are some grave guard here, by the way, but they're not going to do so well against the marauder great weapons. And this should be an interesting one, if I remember correctly. Ooh, giant winds of death. Holy crap, that's a huge winds of death. Doesn't kill any entities though. Follow up zombie summon to get the job done. But yeah, if I remember correctly, Michu won their last best of three using this exact build. So we'll see how it does against the de facto vampire counts main, Maximillionaire. Looks like he's going to be chucking out a final transmutation. Getting lots of damage on the White Kings, but Manfred actually disengaged, which will keep him nice and safe. This is an upgraded final transmutation. This guy does escape a little earlier than the other White King. He pulls away. And this is going to be pretty good damage. Kind of wears down 2 of the single entities. And that kind of burst damage can shut these guys down for a very long time. If Manfred has to keep healing these White Kings, it's going to be pretty painful for that Winds of Magic pool. He does have a lot of magic gain, but that could be enough for Norsca to get enough of a lead where they can clear the infantry, and life will go well for them. As it stands though, there's still a good amount of undead. Just taking a quick check, but yeah, these are not zombies, they're grave guard. They should hold much longer. And there's a lot of crypt horror support here too, getting a little bit of chip damage on this great shaman. So even though that early trade was quite nice, vampire counts are very good in the grind. And if this game does go long, that would be pretty bad for this guy. Given that there's a double cap too, it's not too great. Dogs come on in. They do get countercharged, which is typically quite bad for the doggos. Let's take a look at their value. About 200, 230, 250. It's not bad. But this unit does cost 600 gold. They are going to get a little bit of damage on their way out. I think the horsemen might be overstaying their welcome just a smidge. But still, it's not the greatest trade. But here's the thing. Actually, now at 400, it's starting to get pretty good. Here's the thing, though. Even if the dogs don't trade perfectly well, they're really good at mitigating the value of these horsemen. Ooh, misplay, too. Horsemen get charged again. That's actually really bad. Because the vampire counts are generally going to win on the frontline fight. That's where they're at an advantage. Ooh, big breath attack. But yeah, the frontline fight is where they're at a very nice advantage. And the horsemen is where Norsca gets that value back, because they can shoot at the crypt horrors and get tons of value. So if you can trade into them or keep them disrupted all game, you just have a long frontline fight that's going to go your way. And that's exactly what the vampire counts are doing right now. Getting a very solid early game lead by just grinding here. Big winds of death too from Manfred. Doesn't even go for the heal on the White Kings to get huge deeps on these guys. Now, there is a little bit of a misplay. White Kings getting a little surrounded. But winning this main frontline fight is huge. Because without infantry, Norsca is just not going to kill this. Even though the Mammoth and the Cold Voider are scary units, Crypt Horrors are so good at pinning them down, I don't think it'll go too well. Though I will say this final transportation is kind of huge. Going to be killing both of the White Kings most likely. They're both crumbling now. But Maximilian Darminaire does have a triple cap. So they have time on their hands. They have time to resummon units. They don't have to take a nasty fight against these guys if they don't want to. I will say that was a pretty brutal punch though. And that's going to give Norsca a temporary big advantage on the single entity front. We do have Blood Knights, however. One of the coolest cavalry units in the game. With their anti-large lances, they will do a lot of damage to this Lord and the Dragon. And if they can just keep them back and stop them from fighting, then this grind may not go the way of Norsca. So it's going to be a little bit of a tussle. All it really takes is one snipe on Manfred to turn this into a huge advantage for Norsca. Dragon lanes. Will it get an attack though? One hit. Another hit. No, Manfred escapes. A little bit of jank from the dragon, having a bunch of zombies here, kind of making it more difficult for it to land attacks. And the Blood Knights are in. Blood Knights are on cleanup duty, hitting the riders, routing off a couple unit of horsemen. And there's not a lot of range left for Norsca. I'd actually be a little worried if I was Norsca. Yeah, the Berserkers have been able to grind. They've killed off a lot of the Crypt Horrors, but there's actually not that much left. They do have some followers of the Great Eagle clearing some Crypt Ghouls, which is a very nice trade. But without a sturdy front line, I don't know. This Lord is going to be very exposed, and oh my goodness. A little bit of a misplaced breath attack. He was trying to shut down the Blood Knights, but they already pulled away. Great Shaman actually took a little bit of damage from that. But yeah, I think they're kind of lacking the clearing power. Is what I'm most worried about. As the armies get smaller, the overall DPS is going to go down, and that really favors these corpse carts. Unless they get sniped or something, this is just not too pretty for the Norskins. Though, surprisingly enough, they do have capture weight here, but I don't think this is a true capture. With a dog unit and Maximilianaire and the Blood Knights, this is not great for the forces of Norsca, and indeed, even a single dog unit is going to be able to capture this. I often say if you're going to try and capture a point, you better make sure you capture it, because if you don't, it means that it's just going to be a misplay. Trying to dislodge your opponent off points tends to be a down trade overall. And indeed, we're going to see this point does get hold, or it does get held by the vampire counts. Will there be some big trades though? We are seeing a Searing Doom, but a very solid dodge. Still though, the slow from the Cold Voider does make it more difficult. They do take a good amount of damage, but actually that dodge might have saved Maximilianaire, because without these Blood Knights, there's not a whole lot that can fight here. We are seeing some heavy hitters get summoned too. More Marauder champions, who are very slow, by the way. I don't know how they'll do playing for the long con, but triple cap makes that kind of sus. But Skin Wolves, they're definitely going to be good. They're regenerating monstrous infantry. They'll definitely be able to grind with the support of this War Shrine Mammoth. He is looking a little low though, but there's nothing really here that can kill him quickly as long as he stays away from the Blood Knights around. But still, points not getting secured. I think Norsca could potentially win this in the long run, but there's just not a whole lot of time. Maybe if he kills Manfred, that could definitely shift things. But at the current pace, we're seeing these 2 points are getting held very well. The Marauder champions are still making their endless walk towards the middle point. And even the Skin Wolves kind of get caught out. They tried to flank, but now they're getting caught up by the Blood Knights. Looking like they might try and escape. They might try and get an attack command. No, they're just getting caught. Pretty brutal. And yeah, I think Norsca's just running out of steam. They just did not manage to keep their infantry alive against the Grave Guard and Crypt Horror mega combo. Especially those Winds of Death too. They are technically dodgeable, but you have to react almost immediately to get it done. And now Manfred is, well, maybe he gets sniped here. Okay, we're seeing the two big single entities diving for him. The thing is though, even if he dies, they're gonna have to make some very quick plays to re-secure points. Only 1 point is starting to go the way of Norsca. Final Transmutation upgraded is nice, but this might have actually baited out the Great Shaman, as they are now out of position, completely surrounded by Blood Knights and Crypt Horrors. And I think Michu's Hail Mary play, while good to try and come back, it's not going to be enough to actually win it. Maximilianer responds appropriately. And yeah, that's going to be game. Honestly, I think this one came down mostly to the spell dodging. Maximilianer was able to avoid the biggest amounts of damage from Final Transmutation. If he had just blobbed up earlier in the game with Manfred and those White Kings, he would have gotten hit and he would be dead right now. If you yeah, there's Blood Knights too that are killing the War Shrine Mammoth. If they got hit by a solid Searing Doom, then it would just, they would not be able to make this play. And I think that's gonna do it. Meanwhile, the Winds of Death for Manfred were crazy. 2,000 gold worth of value there, on top of a bunch of heals. He definitely paid for himself. And even the middle point is still going to be held. Nice match, but this is going to bring us to game number 2 between these players. We see if Michu can bring it back. Norsca's already a very good counter versus Undead, but there are some filthier counters. I know Warriors of Chaos can actually do quite well. There goes the Lord. Rip them. But yeah, maybe we'll see some Khorne. I know some Khorne is very popular against the Counts. But that's going to be it. First match goes to Maximilianer. They've been doing very well. I honestly thought that Vampire Counts would get counterpicked into oblivion, but no one's been able to beat them just yet. The Marauder Champions have done very well for themselves. 5,000 value on the War Shrine. It's crazy that that did not win the game. I think it's mostly because, well, honestly, the infantry did pretty great. Even the Frostworm did really great. It's just that they weren't able to get the capture weight. I feel like maybe that late game second summon of Marauder Champions might have set them back. But of course, the spell casting is very important. Blood Knights were able to get crazy value because of that. And and Manfred living for so long was a problem. I feel like it almost might have been better to just Final Transmutation Manfred. Get him off the battlefield maybe, but it's a difficult call to make. So game number 2. It's going to be Maximilianer's Vampire Counts again against the Demons of Chaos. Now this ain't no Nurgle, but you can basically play a Nurgle style here. The Demons of Chaos, by the way, they are typically very strong against the Counts because of the Exalted Great Unclean One. They have a Mortis Engine effect, which beats Vampire Counts at their own game. As you can see, right there, it does the same amount of damage as a Mortis Engine, but this guy's such a good fighter that he just kills everything. He's actually one of the best blob fighting units in the entire game. But Maximilianer has brought his typical counter against it. It's going to be double Goose, double Terrorgeist. They both have anti-large. They both have armor piercing. They do a lot of damage when they can 2v1 an Exalted Great Unclean One. It still doesn't always go the way of the Vampire Counts, even with this much single entity killing power. But they got to play to their outs here. Vampire Shadows here with Melkoths, maybe to bully Seeker Cavalry or something. And of course we have Von Karstein Lord here to get Tempest off. Double breath attack on the Angels of Decay. This build is trying to win the Air Force fight. For those of you that don't know, Angels of Decay do actually outduel a Terrorgeist. Their stats are so crazy high that they can just take a straight up fight against dragons and win. But against this many units, it's not going to be a beautiful fight. Tempest drops. Furies get clipped by it too. And the Angels are forced to land. This is overall a very nice early game for the Vampire accounts. They're making a lot of plays. And if Nurgle's unable to secure the air, these guys might be able to just cycle charge the Exalted Great Unclean One to death. We'll kind of have to see how it goes. A very big play trying to just shut down the Angels of Decay. They're just going for it. And the damage is looking pretty good so far. Zombie summon to shut down the ranged. That's going to make it very hard for these guys to trade. The plague drones of Nurgle here not really doing too much either. They're shooting their death heads at long range. And this isn't too pretty so far, actually. I'd say the Demons of Chaos are actually kind of getting wrecked. I don't know if this is just a very effective counter build, but the Double Goose is doing a lot of damage. On the balance mod too, Terrorgeist did get a buff specifically so that Vampire accounts are able to actually fight these single entity builds. But even so, like, it's like a 400 gold difference. Usually Maximillionaire would have fewer zombies here to take the Terrorgeist, and right now they're not actually participating in the fight. So I don't think this would have really gone much differently yet. It seems like they're just winning the air game extremely efficiently. These plague drones just really are not getting any leverage on the geese. And this is bad. You can't really just lose 4,000 gold worth of air units at the beginning of the game. Usually, those guys would be able to skirmish with these guys. And the Exalted, he can force a fight while the air units continue to skirmish. But this is just not going the way of the demons. Yeah, Exalted's gonna get a couple hits in on the geese, but he definitely dies if they decide to commit to a fight. Gonna see some breath attacks drop on him now, and with the air game secured for the Vampire counts, I'm a little worried. I don't think this is gonna go great. We'll see though. We'll see what Michu can pull off, but you can just see their ground army looks so meager. If you go for the air, you gotta win it. That's usually how air games go. It kind of just comes down to who commits to it. If both players go for air. If one person goes for air and the other person goes full on the ground force, that can actually be really bad for the flying player. So what you usually end up seeing is a game of chicken, where... Wait, is that a... it is Rancid Visitations. But yeah, you basically see a big old game of chicken, where both players want to win the air game, but overcommitting can just get you killed. Now, Second Tempest does drop Storm of the Night. It does do damage to these plague drones, even though they're landed. I guess having wings will make you a little susceptible to that. And the Rancid Visitations was not able to kill the Von Karstein Lord. He does have Invocation of Nahek, so as long as he doesn't die, he should be okay. And I think this game is really just going to come down to whether or not these Terrorgeists actually beat the Great Unclean One. Now, this guy is just a giant ball of HP. He has insane melee defense. But the 2v1 is still going to be pretty good here. He gets a heal on himself. I don't really see the geese taking damage though. Smacks one of them with the bell, but now he's being attacked from behind, reducing most of his melee defense for this one Terrorgeist. And I don't really see it. Oh, this might change it though. Turns out Michu's been saving up for Pleasure Seekers. Now a lot of magic has been spent. Fury here overcommitting to try and kill the Von Karstein Lord. That's a bit of a misplay. But this is good. He knows that the Von Karstein Lord is spamming magic to heal himself. So this shouldn't be enough for Melkoth to deal with the Pleasure Seekers. They're going to be coming in hot, immediately shutting down the Black Knights, and they'll definitely be able to get a lot of value there. But there's still a little bit of a problem in that the Great Unclean was just overextended. I think he's just gonna die, and with the Terror guys just outgrinding him, they will probably be able to kill off the Pleasure Seekers. Like, you know, if Max or if Michu just saves up for a little bit of Winds of Magic. You know, the Lord is very much so in a secure position. They can just Malkots and land with both geese. And I think that just gets the Pleasure Seekers done, but don't underestimate this unit. It costs 1,800 gold, as much as the Terrorgeists. And if the Terrorgeists land, well, they can definitely just charge them and get them murdered. But I don't think Maximilianer is going to give that opportunity. Both geese are now back up in the air and pretty safe. Stagger animation keeping them safe from that volley over there. Stagger animation is very good for flying units, by the way. Tends to make it where they only get hit by one of the bullets. Oh my goodness. He doesn't even need a dodge. The stagger animation's just cooking today. Lord is back at high HP, and Demons of Chaos, they only have Pleasure Seekers left. I think just getting hit in that air fight so early really put him on the back foot. This is pretty winnable, I would say, for Demons of Chaos, even with the same builds. But I will say Maximilianer definitely had a very optimal setup here. He had just enough strength to beat those plague drones. And I think that's going to do it. Pleasure Seekers get a surround on the Vampire of Shadows, but this just leads to a double charge from the geese. Let's take a look at that damage. Yep. They have more HP than your usual demon cavalry, but they're just dead. And a very decisive victory for Maximilianer. I don't think Micha can come back here. I guess they do have a lot of supplies, but to clear out this army is just going to take too long. The tickets are not going to go well. Double geese coming on in. Oh, these are exalted pinks. Pretty fun. Didn't really get to see much use of them, though. They've been on top of zombies the entire game. Let's actually take a look at their value. Yeah. Only 870. 8 minutes in. They just haven't been able to shoot. And this is going to be a massacre. Lord gets resummoned. That's not going to do it, though. He comes in with this big bell. And Maximilianer are showing that even in terrible matchups, you can still scrap it out. Very fun to see the crazy vampire counts plays. I do wonder how they're gonna do versus someone like Berserk, though. Berserk is gonna give them no quarter, that's for sure. And if Berserk wins their best of 3, then we're gonna see the matchup. But yeah, I believe Maximilianer is the mono faction player that has gone the furthest in the tournament so far. All the other ones have been sent to the losers bracket. There is a rancid visitations on that lore. That's not going to make a huge difference, though. These terror guys can just cycle charge this guy. There's also a ticket lead, so oftentimes when you start falling behind, you can trade victory points. You can trade your ticket lead for value, and just bring back your lord and army wipe your opponent, then just recapture the points. Maximilianer just going for a straight up fight against that great unclean one again. And I believe that's gonna be game. One goose crumbling, though. Fun fact about Terrorgeists, however, their crumbling is a flat amount of damage. So if you look at this undead here, it deals 14 to 28 damage per second. The regeneration, because of the high HP pool, actually almost completely mitigates the effects of crumbling. So it's actually not too bad for them. GG, well played. And Maximilianer takes the second win. Moving on to the winners bracket finals with some insane value Terrorgeists. Some good air supremacy there, and yeah, when your Angels of Decay get this sniped, is not going to go too well. You kind of have to make sure that they stay on high HP. Maybe try to buffer them with the support of the plague drones. You can see the plague drones already got 1,600 value. I've seen these guys get 3,000 value, so if they live, it can just be absolutely devastating. But the plays were not made. Well played, though. Reach is going to be going down to the losers bracket, trying to revive themselves. And if they manage it, maybe these players will see each other again. But that's going to be it for me today. Peace out. And I'll see you next time.